he really liked this tight end, Brandon Kafusi. I said to him in a press conference, well, I can't wait to see what he's like for the Bills this year. And he just started laughing, and he just goes, Jesus, Bob.
Shut up and sit down.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Rolltech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
What is up, Wisconsin? From the Inside Wisconsin studios, Trevor, that's John. When in doubt, go to Stout. Are you doubting the Packers season? It's the Packers preview episode.
No, I just think there might be some doubts, some things, some questions you have to be answered. And any new season brings with it some doubts, some concerns, some curiosities. And so that's all. And so I figured that's, there, just in case there's some doubt, I was ready and I'm ready. I go to Stout, I appreciate the support that Platteville has given us as a sponsor here, and their time will come. We will represent them as we can, our whole host of folks from the UW system. But right now, we're all in with Stout.
It's a little bit of a doubt episode, I guess. There's some questions, right?
It's also a statement too, right? The team is stout.
The team is stout,
right? So we can go that way too. We may have it, but we'll put a positive spin on it. This is a stout group. We're ready to go.
Always our thanks to UW Platteville, right? Those are our people down there. Yeah. And you got some sweet gear that you're going to wear in a later episode. Probably going to have another track conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, which you had a lot of that off camera today.
We're going to have one here on this one. If you don't watch Matzek and I, we may get off. We may just get down. We get off the rails here.
That's getting cut. All right, Packers preview. Rob Demovsky, ESPN reporter. Thanks for letting us borrow him. And Greg Matzek, the sports director of the biggest stick in the state. I think that's great. 620 WTMJ, the biggest stick in the state. I remember that from a kid. Anyway, lots of Packers conversation, a fun top 5 list, a John Wisconsin story that you will love. This is the Packers preview episode here on Inside Wisconsin. That is ESPN Packers reporter Rob Demovsky on Inside Wisconsin. John, look, he is literally at their beck and call. That's his suit in the background, just in case he's got to run down the field. He's at Lambeau. What's up, Rob?
How you doing, guys? Trevor, John, thanks for having me. Finally, I know you had Wes Hodkiewicz on first. I wasn't sure what twice.
Yeah, we did a little Packers draft preview and he came back. It's good to see you too, man.
Hey, great to be here.
Take the wide shot again. Are you locked in or are other people locked out?
So here's the deal. I'm going to move this if this works okay. We all have these little work areas in Lambeau Field. We're near the visitors' locker room, and this is what my little work area looks like.
Nice.
So
we got to get you an Inside Wisconsin sign for in there. We'll do that.
The problem is everything's facing the wall here. It's never in the background of anything I do in here, but whatever.
Did I see an old media guide in there? They don't even print a media guide.
Oh yeah, I got a whole stack of media guides here. 19, I don't know, what is this? 2019. Yeah, I got all kinds of stuff in here. I even have a small bottle of wine.
Hello. Nice.
That's before you go on at 6. It's more of the happy hour time. Right. At 11 you have bourbon. 6 is more, the 6 o'clock's more of a wine thing. So
that's fun.
So hey, if we're going to preview the Packers, I figure it all comes down to this: is Aaron happy right now?
Let me check. What time is it? What day is it? No, I think the deal with him is in general, yes. I think he's happy to be here. He's happy with where he is in his life. Is he necessarily happy with the young receivers? Maybe, maybe not. But I think he also finally has come to the realization that maybe they don't have to win by him putting them on his shoulders all the time. It was funny the other day in practice, they do the 2-minute drill not every day, but at the end of most days in practice. And it's always a simulated game situation, score, time, timeouts. The other day, Packers offense was down 14-12, had the ball, needed a field goal with about 1:10 to go. And I thought to myself, is that just the score they made up, or do they really think that, this is going to be a defensive-led football team and they might only give up 14. Could have totally been random from the guy running the clock, but struck me as 14-12. Boy, yeah, maybe we could see a few of those type of games where they either are up and need to get a stop or they need to drive down and kick a field goal to win 15-14.
Rob, so you have that. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that comes with history, right? When John asks you, is Rodgers happy? You've been here a minute or two, 97, right? 26th season. I was going to ask you, over the last 26 years, how have you covered it to the point where people still think you take things personally? I mean, at the top of your Twitter, it said, for the love of God, I don't care. I'm just covering this.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like, it was good for a while. And then Twitter became, what it is. And, I feel like if I'm doing my job right, I've got half the people who think I'm too critical and half the people who think I'm not critical enough. So I feel like, not that I ever, take the actual 50-50 vote, but I feel like that's sort of, I think that's kind of a measuring stick a little bit. But yeah, it's Trevor, it's changed so much over the years of just how much or little interaction you want to have with readers and fans that, you could let that stuff drive you crazy. And there have been times where I have, but you try not to.
I love those times. Those are good times.
Well, as you notice, I rarely pound away at your Twitter. I'm usually pretty quiet about that.
Yes,
when
you're right.
By the way, 26 years. So you've had what? 2 starting quarterbacks?
Yeah, unless you count like Brett Hundley's stint in the collarbone. And yeah, it's been like, and I don't even know, John, like how the other half lives, or probably even more the other 3/4 of the league lives. Like,
right.
We watch Jordan Love and you think, well, he does some good things, does some not so good things. And the other day I thought to myself, this is probably what it's like for, 27 of the 32 teams, that they have a quarterback that sometimes makes really good throws and sometimes doesn't. And it's just, that's what's going to be fascinating to me if I'm still around here whenever Aaron Rodgers does end and it goes to whether it's Jordan Love or the next guy. Just look, by pure chance, it's unlikely they're going to find another Hall of Fame quarterback right away. If they don't, it's going to be really interesting to see just not necessarily how the organization reacts, but how fans, who most of whom, have never seen anything else from the Packers other than Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. 1992, right? If you were born in 1992, you're what, 30 years old now? Is that right? 30? I'm really bad at math. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Went to IOU. We didn't have to take any math. 30 years, everybody who's 30 years old has never known anything else other than these two guys.
I always maintain this was the issue with Packer fans when they made the move from Favre to Rodgers. It wasn't that they didn't like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But people like my age who lived through post Bart Starr and Lynn Dickey and David Whitehurst and Jerry Tagey and Carlos Brown and Jim Del Gazzo, and I can go on and on and on and on. Randy Wright. That's what they feared more than anything.
TJ Rubley, or no, that was probably
that was just the one sneak, and then we got to go. Okay. By the way, a good friend of mine, oddly, somehow I know we'll get TJ on. He'll talk about that. But I think that's what people feared the most about Aaron. It wasn't anything about Aaron. It was, oh my God, what if we're in this thing again?
Yeah,
and I think that's what you reference. I think those people. And the difference is those people that are 30 don't have that reference where I am and go, okay, here we go. Carlos Brown, bring it.
And how many games out of 16 were they playing at noon every Sunday? 14 or 15 of them, right? Yeah. It's amazing to me from what it was to what it is now. And that goes for just everything around here, the stadium. You've seen it. It's just, it's really remarkable. But like you look at Miami after Marino, Denver after Elway. I know they had the little bit with Peyton. Just Montana, San Francisco after Montana and Young. They were one of the ones that were lucky enough to have 2. It does not happen like it's happened here, and the chances of it happening again, seem pretty small.
So what you're telling me is that in your book, Seneca Wallace will have a very short chapter.
I'll tell you what, that was my first year at ESPN, also 2013. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Rodgers broke the collarbone on Monday Night Football, I think.
Yeah.
And the next morning, I'm basically – so I start at ESPN in August. That game, I don't know if it was late September, early October. He breaks the collarbone. The next morning, I'm told I have to be outside of Lambeau Field at 6 a.m. with a camera crew. They hand me this earpiece that I've never before had in my ear, and now I'm supposed to go on SportsCenter with basically no television training whatsoever. And that was my introduction to ESPN live television, was talking about Seneca Wallace replacing Aaron Rodgers. So, Seneca's always going to he'll have a place in my heart.
Even though he
Cannonball
lasted
style.
3 quarters, and then he was done.
Then they went
3 quarters.
was it Scott Tolzien then after that? If I remember right.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be shocked with young wide receivers, by the way. I don't know why everybody's treating that like, oh my gosh.
I thought Rodgers made an interesting point this week when he talked to us, and he was talking about Christian Watson, who really hasn't had any practice time with him at all. And he said that we're in the huddle, and I made a quick adjustment, something that he maybe heard one time back in OTAs or never heard. And he went out and he did it right. He read the thing the right way, made the right read. And Rodgers, being Rodgers, said that's the way that guys can earn my trust. And not that Romeo Doubs hasn't earned his trust, but because there's the good and the bad with him. But I think it was the point of, I don't know whether it was Rodgers kind of, trying to soften his words from the previous week, but at least it was him realizing that these guys aren't just always making mistakes. And sometimes he's just got to be patient with these guys. It's so bizarre because it went from in the off season, we're going to have to be patient, to a week or so into training camp, these guys are screwing up, to now, well, okay, maybe we should be a little bit more patient than I was the other day.
Yeah, because that's what we have around here is just the utmost of patience for things like this. And I'm talking about we as in the fan base, right?
Right. Well, we want to, and even us, we watched practice every day, and Romeo Doubs was making play after play after play, and anybody can see that, right? That he's going up and getting it, he's making good catches, but we didn't see until they got into the preseason games. We didn't see, missed routes, missed connections, things that you just don't see when it's scripted in practice, right? I mean, that's just it's just so different early in training camp.
That's my favorite part of this is those behind the scenes things that you guys get to see and or develop in terms of relationships. Rob, 26 years, you've developed some pretty incredible relationships. I know that you have a great relationship with Mike McCarthy still to this day. Is that true?
Yeah, we keep in touch. And it was funny, before last season, right before the Cowboys went early, I think last summer, because they had the Hall of Fame game. And I was actually out in Vegas at an AAU tournament for my son. And it was like I knew the Cowboys were starting practice that week or that day. My phone rings at like 5:30 in the morning, Vegas time. And I'm like, and it's Mike McCarthy. I'm like, what in the world? And I answer it. And he's like, Demovsky, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm in Vegas, just waking up. Oh, I loved going to Vegas for AAU tournaments. He knew my son Hogan played. And I'm like, looking at the date, I go, don't you guys have practice today? Isn't this your first day of training camp? He's like, oh, yeah, we got it all figured out,
The fact that you answer your phone at 5:30 in Vegas is more actually fascinating story.
I'm not saying I just woke up, or I'm not saying that I was just going to bed either. I'm not saying.
Here's why I bring that up, right? Last night we had our fantasy draft, and we started to talk about some of the games that are coming this season. And the hottest ticket in the market right now is that Cowboys game. That is going to be an unbelievable sight. Tell us your angle on the Cowboys with Mike coming back to Lambeau.
I'm already claiming dibs on the spot for live hits across the street under the sign that says Mike McCarthy Way. Like, I'm marking my territory. I know that's where all the local media, TV people are probably going to want to go. So, look, I mean, Mike still has a house here. His wife is from here. He still goes up to Door County in the summers. He's going to be a fixture in this community after he's done coaching the Dallas Cowboys. But right now, I mean, he's the enemy. I can tell you this, though, and this happens all the time when guys get fired, right? I think as the farther and we get away from, his tenure and how it ended, the more people tend to look favorably upon, guys and what they do. I mean, Bart Starr is a great example as a coach, right? Bart was not. It was essentially a failure as a coach. And then, shortly after that, he became Bart Starr again, right? Mike McCarthy, was obviously a failure at the end. It didn't go right. But, hey, he still won them the only Super Bowl that they've had, since 1996. So I would suspect that Mike would get a pretty good ovation here. And the interesting thing about Packers Cowboys, Trevor, is when I got here in 97, they couldn't beat the Cowboys, right? Remember, they lost to them in, what was it, the 94 playoffs, 95, maybe even 93, 94, 95.
They got beat by Jason Garrett on Thanksgiving Day.
Right. They couldn't get over the hump on the Cowboys. And then when they won the Super Bowl in 96, they didn't have to play the Cowboys, right? I think Carolina maybe knocked them off, or I don't remember exactly what happened. And so the first time that they actually beat Dallas was I think the 97 or 98 season. And I just remember what a huge deal it was that even though it was a regular season game, that they finally beat Dallas, this team that ended, their runs in the playoffs all these years in a row. And I mean, ever since then for me, Packers Cowboys, I've sort of understood, kind of what it meant. Now it's gotten a little bit maybe away from, that intense rivalry just because Dallas was on top in the 90s and these guys were trying to get there.
Mike has to make it to week 10. And so how many times will they take the pulse of that thing down in Dallas between now and November? That's the biggie. It's just to see if he
really
makes
is.
it. So if Aaron doesn't have to shoulder everything, if we come to that, then who gets to shoulder?
Well, I think it's going to be a couple of things. First of all, on offense, they're going to use Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon more than ever. And I don't just mean running the ball either. Rodgers made the point the other day that, those guys could each catch 50 passes, which sounds like a lot. But if you look at it, last year, Jones caught 51, I think, and Dillon was somewhere in the 30s. So it's not that far-fetched. But I can tell you this, from what we've seen at training camp, we have seen way more combinations and formations with 28 and 33 both on the field at the same time. Sometimes they're both in the backfield and one goes in motion. Sometimes one's in the backfield and the other's in the slot. Sometimes Aaron Jones is out wide to the right. And Rodgers really trusts those guys as pass catchers. And I think that's going to be his safety valve, at least early on. Then, from a defensive and special teams standpoint, well, we could probably do a whole show on special teams, but from a defensive standpoint, if you look up and down there, and I always say they have 12 starters because if they're in base, they're in the third 3-down lineman. If they're in nickel, then there's an extra corner. So if you look at those 12 guys that would make up those spots, I don't know that there's a weak link in there. I mean, on the defensive line, you've got Clark, Lowry, and Jaron Reed, the veteran they picked up. Outside rushers are Gary and Preston Smith. Inside linebackers, Devondre Campbell, who was an absolute find, and then Quay Walker, the first-round pick. In the secondary, you've got 3 corners, Rasul Douglas, who was an unbelievable story last year, Jair Alexander, who's the All-Pro, and Eric Stokes, the former first-round pick. And then at safety, I think those guys are underrated, and Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage. I mean, those are 12 guys that are as good to me as a collective group as I think any team has. Now, is there an Aaron Donald in there? Is there a TJ Watt in there? Maybe not, but 1 through 12, they're pretty darn solid.
Got your passport ready, Rob?
You know what? That's funny you asked that, because in July, mid-July, I was digging through some stuff and found my passport, opened it up, expired. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So I was like, ooh, boy. So I go over to the post office in West De Pere, the fine folks there. I said, hey, how long does it take to get a passport? And they're like, 8 to 10 weeks. I start doing the math. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Well, okay, 10 weeks would be the week before the Packers go to London. We better get this thing done now. It showed up in the mail a couple days ago. So we're all
good. Good.
all good.
I had a similar experience because I had to send mine back because I'm going with my sister and my wife. We're going to go to the game. And mine was going to be expired by the time we left. So I thought, I'll get on this. This will be great.
Yep.
And then I get hired to go do the World Championships of track and field in Eugene. And they're like, hey, we need your passport number. And I'm like, well, luckily I'm traveling the U.S., but I'm like, I don't have it. It's gone. It's somewhere. Right. It's New Orleans or wherever it is.
Uh-oh.
But I have it. I have it back. I'm gonna go.
You know what the unbelievable thing, John? I mean, you say you're going. I think this game's going to be all Wisconsin people in London. I guess I thought that these games over in London, and maybe it is this way for most of the teams, but it's all, English people who don't exactly know what the hell's going on the football field. But I cannot tell you how many people I run into around town here, around the state, or who are Packers fans in other states that are going to this game in London. Like, I can't believe it. Like, the English aren't going to be able to get any tickets for this thing.
I think I have to host a pep rally or something for the team.
I'm not going.
So.
There you go.
I'm not going.
You may be at a pep rally. I'm going to be in a pub.
Good. Well, that's the one thing, right? Like they're ready to go. People will feel what it is, and you know what I find amazing about doing this is the Packers aren't going until they do the 17th game, right? Yeah. Otherwise, they're not
giving up a home game. Yeah, when it's
right. So, but as I was talking to some people in the front office, it's not just giving up the home game; is that people don't want to give up the Packer road game, man. When they come to town, they're like, no. I can't do that one. That's it's like a two-edged sword with this team.
I think there was like 2 or 3 years in a row where we thought they were going to go. I think in 2016, they had Jacksonville on the schedule, and we thought, well, okay, Jacksonville's playing a game every year in London. That'll be the one. And then I remember the Packers telling me that, the Jaguars didn't want to give the game up because they knew it would, A, be a sellout, B, they'd sell a ton of beer and merchandise, and there'd be so many people coming into town, spending money in their city that they don't want to give that game up. And then I believe there was somebody else maybe a year or two later, maybe it was like Tennessee or Buffalo or someone that, again, wasn't willing to give up. I believe it was the Rams in when they played them in the Coliseum. Mm-hmm. And we thought, well, the Rams don't have their home stadium. Maybe they'd be over there. And turns out, the Coliseum had 50,000 Packer fans out in LA that day. And it's just, I get it. It makes sense that, teams don't want to give up that revenue when they come. In my 26 years doing this, I can think of, one game where it was at Lambeau Field where it felt like what it feels like when the Packers are on the road and there's tons of Packers fans. And it was 2005 when the Packers were bad, 4-12, Mike Sherman's last year. And Pittsburgh was here midway, maybe November sometime. And it was clear that, Packers fans were dumping their tickets. I've never seen more visiting fans than the Steelers had here at Lambeau that day. And that's what it's like for Packers games, 60% of the time on the road.
All right, give us the prediction then as we wrap up the Packers preview with Rob Demovsky, Packers ESPN reporter. Yeah, where do we land this year, Rob?
So Trevor, I people think I'm crazy. I said there's no way that they're going to win 13 games 3 years in a row, right? 13-3, 13-3, 13-4. No way can they win 13. So I said, all right, then they're going to win 14. 14-3. And here's how you look at it. They have 10 games that are gimmies. The 6 division games, they've only lost 1 division game in 3 years under LaFleur. So I'm giving them all 6. Then you've got the NFC East, right? So Cowboys, Giants, that whole division. They're going to win 3 out of 4 of those games, right? So now they're at 9 wins. They have the Jets at home right after London. That's 10. So now all you got to do is go 4-3 in the other 7 games. There you go, 14-3. Sounds easy.
Okay. Again, that's the Ohio math that he's bringing to us, so that's good. We appreciate that. The man just declared he doesn't know much math, and then he's got that perfect, which is great. So why can't we talk about the special teams? We should talk about the special teams.
Well, because we don't have enough time.
Is there a way to gauge noticeable improvement in training camp, or like that's really until you see it?
Yeah.
Rich
Bisaccia is loud. There's that. He's into it, man. One day at camp, they were doing punt drill, and he was way down near where the punt returner was. But it was the punt team it was the number 1 punt against the scout team punt return. And Bisaccia is way down by the returner, and he didn't like how they broke the huddle. They must have come out of the huddle slow, lackadaisical. And I've never seen a little dude, Bisaccia is about my size, run so fast right down the middle of the field to chew their ass that they didn't get out of the huddle quick enough. And it was something, man. But look, I think in my time here, there's only been one special teams coordinator that hasn't been forced out, fired, or forced into retirement. And that was Nolan Cromwell. And he ended up going with Holmgren to Seattle in 99. Every single person that has held that job in Green Bay has either been fired or forced into retirement. So, I mean, this job, it's for whatever reason, it's been really hard. The other night in the preseason game, they had one play punt where they had, I think, 12 on the field, one where they had 10. I mean, again, it's not all guys that are even going to be on this team, but it just seems to be like this thing hanging over their head, like this light that's shining down on the top of my head right now. And it just will not stop exposing the Packers special teams.
So the preseason has been light on some starters. Aaron Rodgers, again, will put in his full body of work, but not doing anything.
Right.
What did they learn from last year that it is not going to be the disaster in week one that it was a year ago?
Yeah, that's a good question. They haven't changed a whole heck of a lot. They approach the games the same way. Practice looks pretty much the same as it always has. I mean, I guess the bottom line is that game really didn't hurt them in any way, shape, or form. They still were the number one seed, right? They still had home field advantage. They got absolutely destroyed 38-3 by the Saints down in Jacksonville. I asked a bunch of guys, if that had any bearing on just what they were doing this summer to prepare. And pretty much everybody just chalked that game up to kind of, it was a weird game. It was moved from New Orleans to Jacksonville because of the hurricane in New Orleans or whatever. And I think they just chalked it up to it was kind of a weird deal. I don't think there's anything that's, really that's affected them in any way.
So I'll finish up here by going back to the very beginning when you said they put 14-12 on the clock.
Yeah.
So let's say it's 14-12 or 12-14. I don't care.
Yeah.
At this point, from what you've seen, would you rather have the offense on the field to get a field goal, or would you rather have the defense on the field to get a stop?
Whew, man, that is a great question. I guess the easy answer right now would be to say the defense because there's such expectations. But I have a hard time betting against Rodgers in that situation. I've seen him do it so many times, even when it was basically improbable. I'll never forget the game in Miami where Rodgers pulled the fake spike, which I believe Marino was famous for. And he pulled the fake spike down there and threw a touchdown at Andrew Corliss, I think. And that was one of the most there's no way they're winning this game. And he pulled it off. I'm still going to go with Rodgers and the offense in that situation. But there was a game in Chicago at the opener a few years ago where Rodgers said, coming off the field after the defense held on, hey, we've got a defense now. Mm-hmm. Well, it turned out they really didn't. I think that was, they struggled that year as it went on. But it sort of feels like this year he might be able to say that again.
All right, Rodgers, you brought it up. I want to know, as we wrap it up with you, Rob, tell us the behind-the-scenes story of this whole I'm not a Bob thing.
That is so, he started calling me Bob, it's been a while now. And he was just throwing it in there. He'd be like, well, Bobby, it's like that kind of, Bob. And one day I went up to him and I go, did you call me Bob? And he's like, yeah, I'm just joking around. Why? I'm like, and this was my biggest mistake. I go, I hate being called Bob. I hate that, which was the worst thing I could have possibly done because now it has become a thing. But I think there's some people who think that he's doing it because he doesn't like me or whatever. And I don't care whether he likes me or not. But my favorite Bob reference that he's made was about a year ago at this time. It was in a press conference. And I don't know if you remember, he had told Peter King, maybe I think, that he really liked this tight end, Brandon Kafusi, in camp. And we all remember the year before when he talked about how much he liked Jake Kumaro, and then they either cut or traded Jake Kumaro to Buffalo. So I said to him in a press conference when he brought Kafusi up, I said, well, I can't wait to see what he's like for the Bills this year. and Rodgers, and keep in mind, that was right when Rodgers had come back.
Still fresh.
Yeah, that was when he had come back from, I hate the organization, they don't listen to me, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I can't wait to see what Kafusi does for the Bills. And he just started laughing, and he just goes, Jesus, Bob. It's out there. I think my buddy Matt Schneidman from The Athletic, I believe he tweeted it out at the time. And it was like August 18th of 2021, because I went back and looked at it on the anniversary and, whatever. Somebody made a T-shirt, of course, up that said
I
Jesus,
loved it.
Bob. So it's all good.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll be seeing you.
See you, Rob.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Rolltech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
Helpful critiques, ideas, great stories, people we should know, the great bar in your town, the fish fry you want to know, the fish boil, anything that you want to reach out to us with. We are happy. We are here. You can be the inputters. We're here to listen.
J.A., I talked last episode about going to festfoods.com. I got that new smoker, that Traeger grill I was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. I did not know this existed. If you go to festfoods.com, there on the homepage.
Why do you say Fest Foods? Isn't it
That's their
festival?
website. Yeah, of course, it's Festival Foods. Yeah, but Festival Foods website is festfoods.com. There on the homepage, the grocery and tailgate headquarters of the Green Bay Packers. They have a logo, literally, the Packers logo on their homepage.
Mm-hmm.
You click on that, and up pops everything you could possibly need for a tailgate.
Like
Really, really
Eric?
cool. I'm sure it's on there. Here, should we give it a
Meat?
test?
Cheeses?
The first thing I
Sausages?
saw was a 30-pack of Miller Lite. All right, let's have a tailgate, shall we?
Good. Sure. Let's get all the sponsors together. Here's what I want to know. Like, I love the subtle transition we make from outdoor patio barbecue season into tailgate season, because it's very much the same thing.
Very much.
You just switch a patio for a parking lot, right? And that's the only difference, near as I can tell.
I love packing up the grill. Our oldest son, Rody, he's playing football. No, he's not. He just broke his arm. Story for a different day. It's like the fourth time he's done
Was
it.
he getting
Anyway,
up off a stool or something like you?
Leave me alone. We tailgate for these games. We go to Festival Foods, and we have done 2 weeks in a row of breakfast at a tailgate. We bring the Blackstone out there, the other grill we have, and we do breakfast. But anyway, regardless, festfoods.com. Click on the Green Bay Packer logo that's on the homepage. They are the official grocery and tailgate headquarters of the Green Bay Packers. Everything you would need. Of course, there's probably, I'm really curious, is there Bloody Mary mix? There's over 9 pages of things. We'll figure out if there's Bloody Mary.
Roster.
No.
Unlike the Packers, we do not have to be down to 53 by Tuesday. We're good. Run the whole 9-page.
Bestfoods.com. Festival Foods.
Parking lot sold separately.
We are back inside Wisconsin between segments. Just chatted with Rob Demovsky from ESPN, Packers reporter, getting to Greg Matzek from WTMJ Radio. First, though, a top 5 list, again, brought to you by UW-Platteville. The University of Wisconsin-Platteville. Make a smart investment and choose from 50 academic programs, including criminal justice, forensic investigation, and education. Hard word to say. UW-Platteville's affordable cost means you'll graduate with less student debt, hot topic, and more opportunity. Find out more at uwplatt.edu. Go there, UW-Platteville. All right, I'm good. Here we go. Top 5 list time. I prepared a little John Anderson Packers quiz. I'm excited about it. Oh, yeah. Roll your eyes. You do this crap to me.
I'm better before 83, and you're better after 83.
Okay, well, some of these are before and after 83. We'll test your little knowledge here. All right, so the conversation.
What are they? Uniform numbers? Are they colleges? What am I looking at here?
Well, the hot conversation about this coming Packer season is all about the receivers. And so I was curious if you knew the top 5 receivers in Packers history, meaning who has the most yards received. In the Green Bay. Yep. We are talking yards. It is the list of the top 5 receivers in terms of receiving yards in Packers history. Let's see how you do.
All right. Where's Donald Driver?
You tell me.
He's probably first.
He is number 1. Yep. 10,137 yards. Number 1. All right. You're in. Here we go.
Okay. Did he break at the time? Did he break James Lofton's record?
Wow. Oh, so this is going to be that, huh?
8,000 and something.
No, James Lofton is number 2. You were right. 9,656 yards.
There's James.
2 for 2.
And then let's see who else is in the top 5. Does Sterling quite make the top 5?
Come on, that's number 3. Jeez, I thought this was going to be difficult. Really, you're just going to go down the list?
Did Robert Brooks catch him?
No, and Robert Brooks didn't even make the top 10. Thanks for
really
calling.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then, where's Jordy?
Number 6.
Okay, where's
Jordy
Devontae?
had number 4.
So I'm
8,120. You're missing number 5.
Number 5.
This is going to be a toughie, I think.
Okay. Well, just out of curiosity, where's Don Hudson?
Number 5, John. Damn it.
And my guess is Don Hudson is still number 1 on touchdown receptions with 99.
I didn't look at that list. I think I have it right here. Touchdown, receptions, targets, touchdowns. 99 touchdowns for the one and only Don Hudson. You are correct.
Number 14.
He's number 1. Well, that was a fun quiz. Here, I thought I would get you a little bit. Not even close. The only bad guess you had was Robert Brooks. All right, let's talk to Greg Matzek. Epic failure. J.A., when you do a Packers preview, you go get the sports director for the biggest stick in the state. That's Greg Matzek from WTMJ Radio in Milwaukee. What's up, Greg?
Hey, fellas, how you doing? I'm missing out. I got a light in my background. I don't have anything that Trevor has. John, you're representing UW Stout. I love that. I'm feeling right at home. I wish I had a little more flair behind me.
You're not doing too bad back there. I mean, you're sitting in a studio, it appears. I think that works.
Yep. Not even a weird green screen. This is real.
Ray, when we go wide, who's on your TV back there? Are you putting on? Do we have the right channel on there? Is that us, or you got the NFL Network?
It was kind of left over from the morning show. I think Mark Shimura maybe had an NFL Network on. This mic, I'm going to make it look official. I don't even need to talk to it. I'm just talking to a laptop. But I can do whatever y'all need.
No, that's all right. We'll just make sure we just cut you off on that side. It's all right. Trevor, do we have to talk about the Packers? Because I like to talk track and field, and Greg and I, before we started this, we got all kinds of tangents.
I hope you got it all out of your system. Yeah, let's talk Packers on the Packers preview.
Fair enough.
We could do that. So we asked Rob. The first question was is Aaron happy? And the second part of that equation is, at least I think, is great. Aaron's happy. He's still got to throw to these guys. That's the other large question mark I have. And I've loved listening to how everybody's excelling and everybody's great. But I look at the roster, and Lazard's a practice squad guy is where he came from. And Cobb is an old fella. And Watkins is now well-traveled. And then you got rookie. To hit on one of those guys would be great. But I feel like you got to hit on a bunch of those guys. I want you to tell me what you see, how you would analyze that core, realizing that Aaron will make them all better. But that's a lot to ask. I get we don't have any Devontae Adams in there, but just to get those guys to be serviceable NFL wide receiver group is hard. What's your impression there?
Well, if you're asking me today, August 29th, right, 2022, who the leading receiver for the Packers will be this season, I'm talking about receptions, not yards or touchdowns. My answer would be Aaron Jones. And I go back to the time Devontae Adams missed a couple of years back, and this is more of the early stages of the Matt LaFleur offense, so guys were kind of starting to feel their way through it, including Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Jones was the leading receiver. I mean, he was split wide. He was used out of the backfield, and he's been an outstanding receiver during his time in Green Bay. There's been talk about utilizing he and A.J. Dillon in the backfield or splitting one wide while having the other in the backfield. And I think you'll see more of that. Just in an attempt to get your best 11 position players on the field. And your best skill position players on the field. I think A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones kind of fit into that mold. So in terms of receptions, I think Aaron Jones is your leading receiver. And I think it speaks exactly to what you're talking about, John. Uncertainty. Sammy Watkins, can he stay healthy? That's a question. Can Allen Lazard be a number one? Remember when Jordy Nelson got injured? He tore his ACL against the Steelers in a preseason game. And you haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play much preseason ball since. Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb were number 2 and 3, and they couldn't be a number one at that time. And everybody wanted to cut Devontae Adams. He can't be a number one. What's going on with this kid? So there's a lot of pressure on Allen Lazard to step into a role like that. But you also don't have a Travis Kelce. You don't have a Mark Andrews. You don't have a guy you can lean on at the tight end position right now. You're hoping Robert Tonyan comes back. He had 11 touchdowns a couple years ago. He also had a torn ACL last season. So after that, there's a lot of uncertainty. So it is still, to me, a big-time work in progress. And because none of them really played during the course of the preseason, aside of Romeo Doubs, who had a great camp, but he also led the team in drops, there's a lot to put on a rookie's shoulders as well. So this remains a work in progress. Aaron Jones is the most sure of things, aside of Aaron Rodgers, on the Packers offense.
So that said, can any of those guys be the guy?
Yeah, I think so. But no longer is there bracket coverage, right? No longer does Alan Lazard become open because Devontae Adams is being double covered. So number one against number one, can Alan Lazard consistently beat a number one corner in the NFL? Will they have to scheme him open? Can he rely on his 6'5" frame? I think he's a red zone target to be sure, and can stretch the field sneakily. They've got some speed with Doubs. They've got some speed in Christian Watson, but he may not be ready for week one. And I think Watkins is the most polished of the whole group just because he's been around so long. But again, you're wondering about injury history. I think whoever the number 2-3 receiver is in the Packers pecking order might end up being your yardage leader because he'll draw number 2 and maybe nickelback sort of treatment on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't know who's going to be number 1 through 3. They all kind of look like a number 2-3 to me.
JA asked one question, and I just got 3 of my questions crossed off. I was going to say, all right, let's talk about running backs catching. Nope, that's out. Here's one that didn't get taken. I sat next to Christian Watson at the Packers welcome back luncheon. Literally, it was me and him. He was at our table. And I asked him how the offense is going. How's it going literally in the offense? Because he didn't play it all in the preseason. And he looked at me bold in the eyes and he goes, which one, Aaron's or Matt's? So that's a thing. How do we think these rookies that didn't get much time, you mentioned Jordy Nelson busting his ACL, like these guys didn't play. So now what?
Yeah, I think you just said politely, I'm long-winded, Trevor. And I get it. I'll back
Sorry.
up. No, all good. Watson, it just, you didn't play, right? He hardly practiced. When I saw him in OTAs, I looked at him and being the track guy that I am, he's got easy speed. John, I think you know what that means. It does not take him any bit of time to get up to his top level speed. He can fly. And he gets in and out of his breaks pretty quickly. So there's plenty to work with there. Maybe he's an MVS speed burner, downfield target. You got to be honest with your defense because he can blow the roof off of it. But I don't know how soon that's going to be in the NFL. Doubs can do pretty much everything from what I've seen. Tough catches, contested catches, deep ball. He's physical, can run the underneath kind of stuff. You can work him out of the slot. But again, how much can you put on a rookie to do all that right away? And also, if you're talking about, the cornerback opposite Jalen Ramsey, can he perform against that level talent? He was going up against, the depth of the roster during the course of the preseason. Didn't see much in terms of starters, but he did during the course of training camp. And he had some moments against Eric Stokes and Jair Alexander with mixed results, which you might expect. I do think it's a lot to put on a rookie. If I think back to all the rookies, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Greg Jennings, Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb had 25 receptions his rookie year. You feel like he had a bigger impact. He had 25 receptions. His only touchdown was in week 1 of the season. If you get more than 40 receptions out of a rookie, historically, since Aaron has taken over, it's pretty good production. But I feel like Doubs is going to have to be in that 45 to 50 mark, because I do think he'll end the season as your number 2.
I'll piggyback off this with the Matt LaFleur offense. I feel like he's sneakily the difference. Like I don't know that you can underrate a guy who's got 39 wins in 3 years, but I feel like this is where he shows his mettle. This is where he wins games. This is where there's a difference between guys and it helps to have the Hall of Fame quarterback. I get it, but I think he's a guy that is the difference between here's a 13-3 team or 13-4. And some 9-7. I think he's worth that. And we keep talking about Aaron. We talk about the wide receivers. This is what the guy does. And your impressions of LaFleur and maybe gets more respect this year for what he does because of this uncertainty.
I love him. I really do. I think he's an interesting guy. I enjoy talking to him. I know the players love him as well. But from an X's and O's standpoint, I think what really stands out to me is this. When I watched Mike McCarthy in his final couple of years in Green Bay, he was kind of stubborn in the fact that it was line them up, right? 4 wide, maybe 5 wide, go beat your man. 1-on-1, get open. Aaron's going to find you. And everything completed was contested. Everything was back shoulder. Everything was timing and chemistry. And that's great when you have the group that Aaron had for the bulk of his career. But toward the end of that time with Mike McCarthy, especially after Jordy's injury, there was no scheming players open. It was just win your one-on-one matchup, and Aaron's good enough to thread the needle. And then Aaron went down, and it did no service to the backup quarterback, Brett Hundley, at the time, or Matt Flynn, or Scott Tolzien. But now you've got LaFleur, who I think is much more creative in terms of ways to scheme players open. So to your point, John, how many wins is a coach worth? I think Matt's offense is more quarterback-friendly than Mike McCarthy's offense, because I think Matt LaFleur's offense is easier to execute with a lesser quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is, among the cream of the crop. So he'll find ways to get guys open. So do you need to have that 2 yards of separation, what Aaron Rodgers would call college open instead of pro open? There's a difference there. I believe in the scheme, and I think you'll see more of that on display, because I think Aaron's going to have to lean on the scheme maybe a little more, because he won't just trust that, hey, Devontae's going to go get it. I'll just put it out there, Devontae's going to go get it. That will take some time with the group he has.
I read something after Devontae was no longer here. Somebody said, well, who's Aaron going to force it to in the playoffs now?
Wow.
That happened a time or two.
It did,
all
right? We've all seen it, right? The widescreen, the all-22, and you see Alan Lazard kind of waving his hands, running across the middle of the field, and you see two guys on Adams and the ball going his direction in that game against the Niners. So I think you're right. You're spot on, Trevor.
But can I interject here on Davante Adams? I don't know that there's anybody that's left town or left a team that handled it better, handled it more classily, was praiseworthy organization and said, this is where I would like to go. Never aired it out in the media, never made it a thing. Like I have as much respect for that guy leaving town as I did him playing in town.
Well, he was basically on a 1-year deal 2 years in a row, and he balled out. Right? Mm-hmm. He gets injured, and it's a total. He bet on himself that he could get through it and put up the numbers that he's capable of putting up, and knock on wood, not get injured. And he did it. I mean, I think a lot of players would have kind of taken a step back and been like, look, I'm trying to get paid. And he balled out and is getting paid.
Just classy the whole way. Just handled it above board. Was just, I don't know. I just feel like that's a guy that, I still like to look at pictures of him and the new baby and his daughter, because I just think he's a great dude. So, and have not met him, but I just think that's how you handle yourself as a professional and a decent human being. And I think he is richly rewarded and rightfully so for how he handled that. Is there anything in the division that I should be worried about? Right? Because they're always intriguing. Cousins is kind of thorn in the side, and Campbell seems exciting, but I mean, what were the Lions last year at the end where we're even trying? And the Bears, I love Eberflus, but they've got a quarterback that I'm unsure. Like, I just don't know. What do you if you were to assess where they are? I still think they're the top of the division, but where do you see those other three in terms of maybe giving trouble here a couple of weeks? I
mean, it's the same storyline, preseason storyline for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
Where the Vikings still have Kirk Cousins, who's not going to win playoff games. The Vikings still have Dalvin Cook, who's amazing. If he can play all 16 games, 17 games, which he's not likely to do. Justin Jefferson, I would love to see him in a Packers uniform. It didn't work out. He's still good. Adam Thielen's still good. The bread and butter used to be the defense, and I think that's where the questions start to begin with the Minnesota Vikings. The Lions play hard for Dan Campbell. That kept him in games, but it didn't lead to a lot of wins. And you've got a whole new system and new everything in Chicago, and a quarterback who is, once again, learning a new system in Justin Fields. I know they're high on him. Athletically, he's incredibly gifted. I don't know if Darnell Mooney is really a number one receiver. So here's the way I would look at it, the way I would sum it up. Not that power rankings are the end-all, be-all, but if you were to create power rankings for every team in the National Football League, go find them. They're out there. Pick which one you like best. My contention is this. You will not see a bigger gap from the top team in one division and the second team in one division than you'll see in the NFC North. I think you'll see the Packers listed as a top 7 or 8 team, and I think the Vikings will check in somewhere between 17 and 22.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the biggest gap you'll see in the NFL.
So last episode, we had Pepper Burris on, and we asked him what was the difference between the Super Bowl teams from 31 to 45. He said 31, they knew they were really good and expected to win. 45, they weren't so sure. What does this team need to get over the hump to join that list?
Top 5 defense. Never won a Super Bowl without a top 5 defense. They've had the quarterback. They've had the prolific numbers put up by Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Think about that 96 team, though. You talked about Super Bowl 31. I remember watching as a fan. I was more excited to watch the defense take the field because they had Hall of Famers and Leroy Butler and Reggie White. I mean, they were loaded. You wanted to watch that defense play. And I think it goes underappreciated from 45, but Charles Woodson, Cullen Jenkins, I mean, that defense was incredibly good. And that kind of, fell off the map. Clay Matthews was young on that team. He was outstanding. But a top 5 defense, it's the one constant thread of all Packers championship winning teams is a top 5 defense. If they don't have it, they have not won a championship.
I also put in your don't get a punt blocked in your own end for a touchdown.
Yeah, that'd be good too. And I'm glad you brought that up, John, right? Because that's the other internal struggle I had watching the playoff game last year is just don't have it be special teams. Don't have it be special teams. I don't know what it's going to be of this Packers special teams, but they've rotated through coordinators. Until they commit to a different philosophy of using more impactful players, they will always struggle. Yeah. They will always struggle.
Yeah. That Packer team, too, is like A.J. Hawk was good on that team. I always maintain that if A.J. Hawk had been drafted 20th or later in the first round, we would have said he had a great career because he was drafted up here being like, I don't know if he was,
right.
When he comes through. Is this whole regular season an exercise in just let's get to the playoffs because this is how we're going to measure everything again? I feel almost like here we are in the end of August. We're going to get ready for September, but really this is all a January question.
It kind of feels like that for every sport now for me. I don't know what it is. Like, not that I get bored at the NBA season, but it's like, are we in April yet? Like, what are we doing here? Can we?
No, but to your point, right? The Bucks have won enough that we know that the regular season they're going to be there, and in some ways, in that comparison is completely apt.
If you believe the Packers are head and shoulders the best team in the division, then I support that thought. I do think the Packers are the best team in the division. I think it's a pretty wide margin. I don't think you're going to need much more than 10, 11 wins to win the division. And I do think the Packers cover that pretty easily. So with that, yes, it's be healthy at the right time and bring some momentum into the playoffs. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very interesting that the Packers chose not to have a bye week after their London game coming up because they're going to play the Jets the week after the London game. Well, everybody takes their bye week after going to London, which the Packers will do in early October. Nope, they want the bye week toward the end of the year because that's when they think their team will need the most rest and another chance to catch your breath before you get into that stretch run of the postseason. I think it's very interesting the Packers chose to go down that path. Nope, we're cool after the London trip. We got the Jets at home. We'll take that. We want to rest later in the year.
Yeah, like it's week 14 or something, right? It's really deep.
Yeah, it's very late. I mean, I think it's a good thing, but that tells you the mentality of what's going on inside at Lambeau.
Greg, we asked Rob Demovsky if he had his passport ready. You going to London?
Another fine, bald gentleman, Rob Demovsky, a good friend. I am not. So I will be, doing probably our programming will begin about 5:30 in the morning, I think, that day. I think we do have some folks going out to London. It's a great chance to entertain with partners and stuff like that. I think it'd be a fantastic trip. I don't think it'll be much of a game, but who knows? Travel could yield some interesting results. But a great opportunity. I'm glad it finally has happened here for the Packers.
All right, John, anything left for Mr. Matzek? Otherwise, we'll wrap up with him. We got to get a prediction, obviously.
I do have one, and that is with the off-season errand stuff that we've gone through previously, the vaccination errand stuff going, like how much difference do you feel like it might make to have sort of a drama-free season?
You didn't even bring up Percocets, ayahuasca, or the cleansing did, right? I mean, just like we can.
Listen, if I've been to peyote sweat lodges, so I'm willing to let some of this go.
Yeah,
it's all right.
That's why you always look so relaxed. It's amazing.
That's it.
You referenced it early, I think, in our chat here. Is Aaron Rodgers happy? he appears to be in a very good spot. But don't you want him kind of angry? Like, don't you want him kind of irritated? Don't you want him with the chip on his shoulder a little bit?
Some people need a little angst in their life to get on the edge and perform. You've probably done this, Trevor. I don't know that you have, but I've had shows where there's nothing happening. You sit around all day, and now you go to the show, and it's flat, and it's kind of eh. And then if something happens 6 minutes before you go on, the show's great because you're kind of on edge, and you're there, and you're at your best. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, do we need a little something in there to spice this thing up?
Run the table, relax. Aaron's washed up. Now he can't get it done because Devontae's gone. There is always something that is going to be on Aaron Rodgers' shoulder, and I want it on his shoulder. Well, whatever it is, like whatever kind of, he always says he doesn't need a lot of internal motivation, and that's great. But I think he pays attention to doubters and is very eager to prove them wrong. And I think the results the last couple of years have proven that.
Listen, I sit here in Connecticut, and you can see that he's fine with the doubters, or the guy's still mad about sitting in the green room. So it's been a long time. I don't for a minute think that he is not influenced to some degree by those outside people. I don't know that you can talk as much as you want, but he has shown himself to that he is not immune to that kind of stuff.
Not at all. Not at all. He's going to be good this year again, guys. I have no doubt. The numbers are still going to be there. No doubt.
All right, Greg, we're going to wrap it up, man. Give us your prediction for the season.
I think the Packers take a slight step back. But when I say slight, I mean slight. I think they're a 12-win team. I do think they win their division. I think it's going to be real close for home field advantage. Been a lot of shifting, of course, in the NFC with quarterbacks moving on to different places. Russell Wilson's out of Seattle. They take a step back. Still a competitive division. Trey Lance, can he elevate the 49ers? We know they like to run. Good offensive scheme. I think the Rams are still kind of the head of the class here. Best balanced team, in my opinion, offense and defense. I always get enamored with the talent of the Cowboys, but talent doesn't always show up in terms of wins. Something always seems to happen there. But I do think there's a pretty good gap. I don't think there's a lot of drama in the NFC North. I think you're looking at a second place, maybe 9 wins. It's probably the Vikings, who will be a fringe playoff team. Keep an eye on the Saints. I think that's a legit team. They just missed last year. They blew the Packers out in week 1, and then it kind of went downhill and was a little rocky. But I think that's a team that is pretty dangerous. And I don't know if they're going to upset Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's got some issues on their offensive line, but keep an eye on the Saints. For a team that was out of the playoffs last year, I think they're in this year.
And that division historically flips every year.
It does.
It had a run there for about a decade where the last became first the next year as they went through. So, and in the end, right, how hard do you want to bet on Jameis Winston? You're like, yep, I feel like it. It could be. I like it. I like Peyton. Maybe he can go. And then in the end, you're like, but that's a guy that could throw 35 interceptions. So,
right.
Anyway,
you're right.
Excellent. Good stuff. Greg, we're going to have you back when we do our big track and field palooza.
Yes.
And Trevor won't be here. It'll just be you and I, and we'll get
all
the state greats that are here. And then the state not greats, but just the state, the people with the interest of what's going on. So appreciate it. Good stuff. Enjoy. Have a great season. And hopefully, you won't have to go 4th and 2 and your guts be going, what are we doing?
It's going to happen week 1. I think we all know that. It'll happen week 1.
Right. That'll last. We'll talk again on September 8th when everybody is
right.
in tatters. Thanks, brother.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Rolltech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
Helpful critiques, ideas, great stories, people we should know, the great bar in your town, the fish fry you want to know, the fish boil, anything that you want to reach out to us with. We are happy. We are here. You can be the inputters. We're here to listen.
A Packers preview episode with the official tailgating and grocery headquarters of the Green Bay Packers. And of course, we have always talked for quite some time now about the official beer of the Green Bay Packers, and that is Miller Lite. All over the atrium. All you see is
all coming together.
It is all coming together.
Packer preview, official beer of the Packers, Miller Lite.
When when I take vacations, my family and I are on a road trip to Mount Rushmore here in a few days. I remember this saying that says you go to faraway places and look for familiar faces. I'm going to see how many places I can get Miller Lite on this road trip, just like you find it there at your wherever you go to get Miller Lite in Connecticut. You do.
Right, I got
everywhere.
it at the Staples on back to school shopping the other day. It's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy. Maybe because there's a liquor store right next to it. Literally, it's a Staples and liquor store. So it was probably more on the liquor store side. But to me, I still went to the Staples and I got Miller Lite.
There you go. It worked.
There's a car wash on the other side, too. So technically, I can get it at the car wash.
Wow. Okay. Jeez. You can also get it at MillerLite.com/Inside Wisconsin. We tell you that every single week. Go check it out. MillerLite.com/Inside Wisconsin. Next time you're getting ready to enjoy cold ones with the crew. Go there. MillerLite.com/Inside Wisconsin to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time, and it is Green Bay Packer football season. Miller Lite, the official beer of Lambeau Field and the Green Bay Packers. Celebrate responsibly, though. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Man, the Miller Lite logos in the atrium. It's just awesome.
And they have a size for everybody. Comes in, you can get 12, 16. You need a keg, whatever. Sizes for everybody. This is what I love.
Yeah. There's
not like the hat where you just one size fits all. No, we've got a size just for you.
Oh man, that was a fun episode. When I asked you, I had all the beers back here, and I was like, what size Miller Lite come in? And you, much like our top 5 list today, just went right down the road.
I think we are out of bald guests to preview the Packers. Right?
Bald is beautiful, J.A. You talk about full coverage all the time. Well, guess what? It was a baldish podcast.
There's this, and then there's full Packer coverage, which hopefully we get to the bottom of that. And it is remarkable because, like as we started the program at the top, when I say, it kind of wore stout because are we in doubt of what's happening? Mm-hmm. And I think we're in that spot where we're kind of spoiled. Like, would you like to go figure out if you're the Colts or the Jaguars or the Bears or the Lions? And we're in a spoiled spot. Aaron's there, still really good. He's going to make those other guys great, even if there's some question marks. The defense, I still think until you show that, still got to get out there, block and tackle, and that's a harder thing to do these days. And a top 5 defense isn't what it used to be. You can be a top 5 defense and give up 400 yards. Right. And then LaFleur, who, man, like the guy never gets a vote for coach of the year, right? Was he like second by 28 votes last year or something ridiculous? And before that, didn't even get a sniff. But I think these are the moments that you have that guy. And I think he's shown he's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to be another, if you're a Packer fan, is it 13 wins, 14 wins or not? But I think it's a division-winning team and it's a playoff team, and that's a hell of a thing to go every year, and this is one more of those. So,
real quick, is there a game of the year where you think we're really going to get a great look at who the Packers are in this game?
I don't know. Let me see if I have the schedule straight in front of me anymore where it was.
Right. I mean, we play Tampa.
There's some, right. Like
Dallas.
They're measuring stick games.
Yeah.
I think we have the Rams, right? That is as much as Rob's like, I think, you pencil in for these games. I think there are a couple in there that are way more meaningful, just like you can, you might excuse a loss to somebody in there because that might be boredom. But Tampa will be big. The Rams will be big, but I don't pretend that any of those is to be in terms of long term or when you get to January matters, as you saw with San Francisco, right? You get into that's a whole different deal. Yeah. I still can't believe they lost that playoff game, by the way. That still is ridiculous.
Too soon.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember, they went down, scored right away in the first thing. It was great, and anyway, I'm just saying.
Teams. And me and Greg Matzek are going to hang out here in Wisconsin while you and Rob Demovsky are chilling in London. Good for you guys. Not jealous at all.
You need to get over some of these things.
I will.
Eventually. You really do. You're not doing very well right now.
No, I know.
I don't know that you're setting a good example for the boys.
Thank you. All right. Here we go. John, Wisconsin time. It's been a minute. J.A., give us a story.
Okay, so I don't know that I have a great story. I just know that this used to be the most exciting time of the year for me as a Packer kid, Packer fan, is when the season tickets came. Early August, and you'd get those, and it was maybe late July, and those tickets came, and I would pore over them, and I held them like they were like an original copy of the Constitution.
I missed the ticket.
And and you had it, and like when you knew what teams they were going to play, and they used to just be old. Here's the time, the date, and they had the football helmet. But even then, because we weren't overrun with memorabilia at the time, we weren't overrun with all these. And so when that ticket came, it was just so remarkable, and to save the ticket stub. And I get people now we're mobile and we're contactless and all that other thing. But so at the end of the season, right, the Packers now send you the tickets.
What?
They don't print them like they used to, so you get them afterwards. But like this is still my favorite time of the year.
No way.
When I get to see those, those are last seasons, which is great because they send you with the score on. Like if you knew the score ahead of time, that'd be really awesome. But I want to go. But this is still, and these are the year before. Like this is still the most exciting day of my fandom. When you talk about fandom, like that's still whether it used to be in the beginning of the year and now it comes at the end. But I still can't wait to see the artwork. I still can't. And the old Packer ticket guy who retired recently. He and I talked about it one time. And he said, we hung in there because so many of our fans loved them. And I get that makes me a fan of a certain age. Like I don't fear the mobile ticket. I've got it and stuff, but like I have the Lambeau League ticket stub signed by Leroy Butler. Okay. Well, you can't get that on this, but you can't do that. And so, I miss it terribly, but it's that time of year when that's, I guess, when I always knew it was like training camp and football, and it's there because the tickets are here. And it'd be amazing how many times I'd go back and look at them. And it was the same thing, but I'd look at them 3 times a day, every day. And so we're going to have these now. And like I said, I keep these handy because I'm like, look, cool. I still have the tickets. So that's not really a John, Wisconsin, but that's just sort of my, that's just a little Packer nostalgia. And hopefully, I don't know, I would love for viewers in the way that they're able to contact with us and make touch. I'd love to hear if other people miss having the ticket. And what it meant to them and the tactile feel, right? I still like to read a newspaper. But I don't think I'm the only guy out there that misses the paper ticket.
100%.
So if you're with me, let us know, because I'd love to hear people's experiences about it, or if they have one that's memorable. And if you're not with us, well, then you're wrong, and that's too bad. And you should get on our page. Get on the page.
All right, it is time for Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet, episode number 3. My buddy Darren in the marketing department with Blaine's Farm and Fleet joins us to introduce this. I asked Darren to be a part of this because the feedback on Inside Wisconsin's Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet has been really cool, Darren. And so I just thought we would give a quick history on how we came up with this idea and what it's all about. And I'll tip it to you here in a second. But when I shared this with John Anderson, he said that's the heart of Inside Wisconsin. That was what the whole idea was back in September of 2020 when he and I talked about doing this. So out of curiosity, when you and I started putting this thing together, how would you describe how this idea that we came up with connects with Farm and Fleet's values?
Sure. Well, I think, initially when you and I started talking, just the broader Inside Wisconsin resonated, right?
Right.
The 2 things that stuck out were, the positive stories and then the statriotism, right? And that word I don't think I'll ever forget. But it was kind of the positivity or the joy-filled stories. As a brand, we like to think of ourselves, Blaine's, as being very positive. From the get-go, our culture was based on things like we treat our associates like family and our customers like neighbors, and we definitely want to build those relationships. And then the statriotism. I mean, I'd like to think that in every state we have a Blaine's. There's that homage and there's that deep affinity. We're very much about community, being involved at a local level and being charitable and making sure that we're a welcome place for people to meet up and like-minded people to kind of shop and interact. So, that whole inside Wisconsin, right there, it felt like there was a connection. The people that Inside Wisconsin engages with is fantastic. The Barry Alvarez's and the Jonathan Taylors, but the idea was born out of there's other noteworthy people out there doing great things every day, and let's put the spotlight on them as well.
And that was the whole idea of diving deeper now with Deeper Roots, is trying to tell their stories. I love that you said Farm and Fleet is a place to meet. I mean, that's why we did my grandpa's story for episode 1, because I have significant memories from going to Farm and Fleet with him in my childhood. It's been really exciting, really grateful for this partnership and the opportunity to travel the state and tell these deeper rooted stories with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. And so today's Deeper Roots is Vanessa at the Victory Garden Farm in Fredonia. And you'll see, and Darren was there, I cannot get all of these chickens surrounding me out of my head. How did we find this idea of the Recco ring, Darren? And then we'll get to it.
We are we're in the process of completing a new store out in Grafton. And it turns out that apparently Vanessa and her group were using kind of the grounds around that building for their Recco ring, right? Which was a new term for all of us. When we started construction there, she reached out to make sure that she and her group could still meet there. And it kind of opened the door to what's a Recco ring, and then you sort of reverse engineer into it. And she's got a fantastic story.
Yeah, and she started in Wisconsin. This is a Wisconsin born and raised woman who moved away, and like Jeannie from the Firefly, she couldn't stay away. She had to come back. Let's get to it. Episode 3 of Inside Wisconsin's Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. We're naming this one the Recco. R-E-K-O, all capital, ring. What's that?
Recco is a acronym that loosely stands for fair consumption.
Farmers, brewers, hunters, packers, badgers, cheeseheads, neighbors. No matter what name we go by, we are bound together by our roots. These are the people, the stories, and the patriotism from inside Wisconsin. Welcome to Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Back in a barn for episode 3 of Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Vanessa with Victory Garden Farms. Vanessa, thanks for having us out.
Thanks for being here.
City Slicker. We're going to learn a lot about farming today and a little bit of a different angle on farming here in Wisconsin.
So my farm is the Victory Garden Farm, Fredonia, Wisconsin, and I'm a certified organic farm that specializes in raising heritage breed animals, primarily pastured poultry, chickens, turkeys, and then raising heirloom vegetables. Do you know what heirloom and heritage?
Yeah, of course I do. No, not a clue. Tell me.
So heritage breed animals are the older breeds. They're not the standard animal breeds that are typically raised today in factory farms.
Do we get to go and check out the 500 chickens?
Yes, we can. So this is...
Where do we have to go to get eggs?
We go inside.
In?
Yeah, don't be scared.
I'm not scared.
Are you sure?
Scared? Maybe a little bit scared.
You're acting a little scared.
Do they jump and peck eyeballs out?
No, but they might grab your leg hair.
Oh. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, so I get about 30 dozen eggs a day.
30 dozen? Where do you sell them?
I sell to a lot of local, small-scale grocery stores. I sell to restaurants, and then through Recco, so direct sales to my Recco customers.
Does it hurt if you get pecked in the hand?
Sometimes. They draw blood. They can.
Come on.
But you'll be fine.
I'll get these eggs that don't have a chicken on them. How about that? The word farming in Wisconsin is rarely used for a farm like this, right? We're used to big crop farms or big dairy farms or big beef farms or cattle farms. So this is unique. And then we're going to talk in a little bit about this whole Recco ring thing, which is also unique. But where did you first put your roots in the soil to have a passion for what you're doing today?
I guess it would have to go back to being a child and not even really realizing how important it was. I moved to Wisconsin when I was 5 from the Bronx. And
big upgrade.
so we lived in the inner city in the projects.
Wow.
And I'll never forget the feeling of when we first landed in Wisconsin and we got to my step-grandparents' farm and I was allowed to play outside by myself. That was a big deal, that I could go run and play. But having a garden, having your hands in the soil, just growing up like that, I didn't realize how much of an impact it really had on me until I left Wisconsin.
How old were you when you left?
18.
Okay.
So I left, I was gone for 25 years, never thought I would come back.
Of course.
But here I am,
Here
and
you
now
are.
I have a farm.
So you picked something up, though, in your travels, in this Reco ring. R-E-K-O, all capital, ring. What's that?
It's actually an acronym, and it is not my original idea. I heard about it on a podcast, but Reco is a acronym that loosely stands for fair consumption. And it was started by a farmer in Sweden called Thomas Snellman, and it's just a way for producers, farmers, to have direct market to their customer base. And the way that it works is it's a Facebook group, and all the farmers advertise their things on this closed Facebook group, and the customers order directly online. You have an agreed upon drop-off site, and the customers come to pick up the items there.
What's some of the feedback?
A lot of people love having that direct connection with the producers, knowing that they're supporting truly local food,
So true.
supporting the community. Also the efficiency of it, because everybody's busy. A lot of people love to go to farmers markets, but sometimes people just don't have the time.
Sure.
Also for people where mobility is an issue that can't necessarily go out and walk around the farmers markets, this is a convenient way for them just to come and pick up. But for us as producers, it's just the efficiency and how easy it is. It's just 1 hour of our time, the pickup time, and it's just really a great outlet. It makes things a lot easier for us.
We're going to be there. We're going to see it in person. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, us too. Now we're at the Reco Ring here in Grafton, and this is where it all comes to them now.
Yeah, this is where the customers come and pick up the things that they ordered from the individual producers.
Farming ain't easy.
It ain't.
And yet there's got to be a fulfilling piece to this. Now you're here, your customers are coming up, you're delivering it, you see the joy on their face, and then you kind of go back to it the next morning.
Yeah, this is exactly why we do it, is for the community and to get positive feedback. And even though people are driving through, we've had this going on for 2 years, and you do get to know people.
Right.
So that's why for me, when I moved back to Wisconsin, it was easy for me to, well, I won't want to say that the farm was easy to start, but I already had a built-in community because I grew up here.
Totally.
And people had watched my farm journey over the years. And so when we started the Victory Garden Farm, Andrew and I, people were interested, and I had a built-in community because I grew up
Wisconsin.
here.
That's
Yeah.
so Wisconsin. Seeing it in person now, right? We can walk around the farm and all the things, but they're all coming through now, and it's first name basis, and this many eggs and that many chickens, and how are the kids? And
Yeah. Hi, how are you? Good. How's your summer been going? Good.
15 dozen eggs, is that?
She got 1 dozen.
Okay.
I got helpers today.
1 dozen.
Yes.
Freshly picked this morning.
He helped, so he's all excited.
I did help. It was scary.
He was
You ever
freaked
picked
out.
your own? I was freaked out.
Yeah.
You ever picked your own eggs? Turns out me neither until today.
They're little velociraptors.
They are. They chase you and peck at you and squawk at you, and then you have to scoot their butt off the. I mean, that's as fresh as they get. Victory Garden Farm. It is.
It's dangerous.
Well, thank you for letting us come and check this out and see just your rooted story. It was so neat to know that you were here at 5 years old and left and came back, because it's required of everybody that grows up in Wisconsin. Nobody ever stays away forever.
No.
We're learning that. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.
And showing us this Reco ring. What if you could, talk to us in 25 years? What do you want this to become? What's your joy? What would ring your joy bell with all this?
I really want to spread the Reco word and create a Reco revolution, and just get, introduce this concept to other farms around the country, and offer it as another option for the community as well as the producers, because I think it's a really great way to support local food, the local food system.
Clearly, it really is. The Reco revolution.
Yes.
I did legit pick those eggs. And as soon as they came around the corner, I heard you say, "Oh," like once Wisconsin, always Wisconsin. Oh. It was a blast.
Thank you so much. It was
Thank
really
you.
fun.
It was a blast.
Do you want me to put this in your back seat?
Yes, I would love for you to put that in my back seat. eggs and chickens. It's like the full circle of life.
Thank you so much for your business.
You're very welcome.
It's a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for supporting the local farming community.
I'll take my own next time too, I promise. I won't freak out nearly as much this time.
Thank you.
A little scared. I was a little scared. A lot of chickens. There was a lot of chickens.
Full circle.
The wind caught that thing and it sounded like chicken wings. And I was like, what?
So these are nasturtiums,
That's really good.
edible flowers.
You just waste some?
Oh, sorry.
Oh! I'm fine. I'm not scared. I'm just a jumpy. Excuse me.
So when you
8 dozen eggs to one person. Are they the ones that put on the dairy breakfast or like what happened?
I've actually dropped a whole huge bucket.
Biffed it.
Yes, exactly.
Biffed it. All right, that's it for episode 3 of Inside Wisconsin's Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. If you enjoyed this, we know you did. Your feedback is pouring in. We're grateful for that. Go to YouTube, like us, hit subscribe, and of course, if you're listening on the podcast side, go leave that 5-star review. If you'd like to learn more about Vanessa and the Victory Garden Farm, or if you're interested in joining the Reco Revolution, please visit her website. It's foodforvictory.com. And of course, if you have a Deeper Roots story that we can share on your behalf, we'd love that. Go to the website, fill out the form, farmandfleet.com/deeperroots.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Rolltech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
Shut up and sit down.